First off, thank you all for coming to the 3D body processing session that we've set up. I'm Rudy Schubert from the IEEE Standards Association. And just a few brief words before we introduce the panel and talk a little bit about what we'll be covering in the session. For anyone who was at my earlier session today, I talked a little bit about within the Standards Association, we do quite a bit with incubating new technologies, looking where standards might be needed in the near future, just to help accelerate different technology areas. So one of the programs that we have is called Industry Connections. And within our Industry Connections program, we have about 20 different groups that are operating on different topics. This one actually formed on 3D body processing earlier in 2016. So it's only been about maybe 9 months or so that the group's been working. But it's been very productive. And we have a really good diverse set of different companies and participants in it, providing a real nice perspective and a range of going from startups, going to large retailers, as well as looking at technology companies and how they all work together in that ecosystem. The chair of the 3D body processing group that we have is Luciano Oviedo, who I'm going to introduce right here now. Luciano is from Intel, and I'm going to turn it over to him to give a high-level perspective on what we'll be discussing.
We have a pretty good sampling of different perspectives that we're going to share with you today. So before I go through the presenters, I want to give you a small introduction as to what we're trying to achieve and why. So we kicked off this standards initiative in Q1 of last year around a very particular problem statement. And to give you a sense for the problem statement, flip it around and think of it in terms of an opportunity. So what is the opportunity around a set of organizations coming together to explore and develop standardization around certain areas of what we're calling 3D body processing? So here's an example of some statistics that we got from a company, IHL, and they've identified that the problem of the wrong size is approximately $62 billion a year. So when you think about the current state of retail and what drives a lot of costs, not even from the perspective of how they might differentiate for a particular customer, but just in straight up costs in existing ways of doing business, you'll see that there's here a scatter plot of those different reasons. And the opportunity that we're focused on is this one particular here that I highlight, and that is on the order of $62 billion a year. And you can see broken up by geo how much of a cost that is for the retail industry. So you can see we're pretty anchored on what are the different types of activities that we can put together that will help reduce this big impact to this industry. So the way we're asking it in terms of how might we do this, right? And for those of you who have been involved with standards activities, have probably seen a lot of different ways of doing this. And so we're asking ourselves, how might we accelerate the adoption and therefore create shared value across the ecosystem? So questions we ask ourselves are, how might we compare technologies and solutions? This is from the customer perspective. How do we assess scalability, quality, security, interoperability, and the total cost of ownership? How do we deliver new, better, different quality of experiences? We believe by anchoring on these types of questions, we think we can deliver value. Value that is conditioned on adoption. Adoption that's conditioned on vectors such as cost, experience, interoperability, and scalability. And therefore, the types of activities that we're focused on, as you can see here, are pretty extensive. And they range from protocols, privacy, data, methods, and metrics to quality. And so part of the idea here is that by keeping our eye on the ball, how do we deliver value, value being conditioned on adoption, and therefore this should anchor all the activities that we take on. So as we go through these different panelists, keep in mind the question, from what perspective are they coming together? How are they, where are they in this spectrum? And what can I learn from their unique perspective?
Panasonic.